Let's see here. All right, we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. We're going to talk about the upcoming Ethereum merge, okay, that's just around the corner. It's less than a month away. And the Ethereum fork that is trying to essentially branch off of the Ethereum that you know and use today and turn into a second blockchain that would exist alongside the new Ethereum that's going towards proof of stake next month, and how this is turning into a disaster. Okay, so we're going to look at that. We're going to look at a lot of other updates that have happened in the space since yesterday. Again, we do these live streams Monday through Friday on this channel. Just subscribe, turn on notifications. You're going to find out about those whenever you go live. We're going to take a quick look at the crypto markets, answer some of your questions, and a whole lot more. So if you're around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you learn how to master blockchain step-by-step start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We got, Madison, Ardall, Colorado local, Aiden, Dale, Jay Lee, Yoshika, I hope I'm saying that right, Tina, Rafa, Paul, Torin. All right, so let's jump into this. Let's talk about the new Ethereum fork that's coming up down the road and how this is turning into a disaster. Okay, so let's set the stage for this so that you understand exactly where I'm coming from and understand, why this is important. So, Ethereum is moving towards proof of stake next month. It's one of the biggest, anticipated changes in all of crypto's history. One of the biggest changes in crypto's history. Okay, Ethereum has always planned to become a proof of stake blockchain, really from day one. Okay, right now it's proof of work. It has miners on the network that mine coins whenever they include transactions into the blocks. Okay, and then we're switching to a staking model where essentially validators run the chain and then lock up their cryptocurrency into a node in order to earn passive income from doing that. So with the transition, you have quite a bit of resistance from people who are mining the chain right now, because of course miners have quite a bit of incentive to keep mining cryptocurrency, okay, and maintain a blockchain that does that. And of course, also there's incentives from people who want to fork into two blockchains. They can get free coins on one chain, okay. But we're starting to see. So anyways, we've seen a new effort for Ethereum fork pop up that retains proof of work mining on the chain, so that whenever the merge happens, you'd fork and you'd have two blockchains, and of course you'd have the Ethereum proof of stake, version, which most people are going to use post merge. But there's a remnant who wants to stay behind and keep proof of work on, but also like change some things about the network, like take away the fee burning that was implemented last year on Ethereum, all that type of stuff, and also make some modifications to the actual Ethereum blockchain itself. And that's where things are starting to become a disaster. Okay, so let's kind of break into this. So this is the Twitter account for the official Ethereum proof of work chain. Okay. I'm not exactly sure who runs this. Probably somebody in the group who's spearheading the effort. But so they put out an announcement within the past couple of days that I don't think people have reacted to very positively as well, and it started to kind of like tank the credibility of the effort. So basically, ETHW, which is basically Ethereum proof of work version core, okay, the software, to introduce liquidity pool freezing technology to protect users' assets. So basically, right after the Ethereum proof of work hard fork, especially for the initial several blocks, users' ETHW tokens will be deposited into liquidity pools like Uniswap, SushiSwap, Compound, Aave, okay, essentially be lent out for backers, making hackers and scientists using deprecated valueless USDT, USDC, WBTC. Basically, the whole idea is they're going to take all these funds that are locked into these protocols and freeze them. Okay, like totally freeze them so that they cannot be withdrawn because they see that as a threat to, essentially compromising the value of the native cryptocurrency on this actual network itself. Okay. basically, but for a certain amount of time until they can return the user's assets. So the freezing will not be applied to staking contracts that only involve a single asset, ETH 2.0 deposit contract and wrapped Ether, for example. So these are ways where you just take Ether, you lock it to a contract, but you're not like pairing it with another currency like USDC or USDT. I think the fear here is that you're going to have all these apps on top of the network that are not going to be useful, right? Like USDC is a stable coin. Whenever you fork Ethereum, you're going to have USDC on both chains. But guess what? Circle's not going to honor USDC redemptions on some ETH fork, right? Why on earth would they do that, right? They have a vested interest in maintaining USDC on another chain, unless they decided to just come up with, I think it couldn't do that, right? I was going to say, unless it came up with more deposits, right, to have the backing. But the problem is it's a double spend problem, because now you have USDC on two chains for somebody who shouldn't have had it before. It's a double spend problem. So there's no real reason for them to support that. Anyways, so that's what they're saying. They locked these up so people couldn't withdraw the ETH. So but anyways, last not least, ETH Core recommends everyone withdraw their ETH from liquidity providers. Example, DEX and lending protocol before the hard fork. So if you want to get ETH proof of work for tokens, this really risky speculative asset, go withdraw all your coins that you're currently making money with on a DEX or lending protocol, just so that you can get free coins on our proof of work fork. So anyways, number 5 is general for prepping all the forks, at least for normal users. So this is not going well with people's reactions, okay? Basically, there's a lot of backlash to this. You can instantly see it in the replies, like freezing hard-coded liquidity provider smart contracts into the ETH clients is definitely not decentralized. If some group of people can take the decision of which LP contract to freeze, then the value proposition of ETHW being a decentralized secure blockchain is gone. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about that. Is they're basically like picking winners and losers to say, hey, we're just going to freeze this, and this is not going to be worth anything whenever we move over to our new fork, okay? And you can see a litany of replies, okay, basically saying like, hey, like, what are you guys doing with this? So I think that's starting to work itself out in the marketplace. There's not the only ETH fork that is supposed to happen. Post-merge, there are several, okay, but you can track them, and so you can see that basically most of them are starting to, really tank over the past 7 days, and it's not really correlated with what's going on with the crypto markets. It's like the ETH forks in general are starting to look pretty bad, right, in the price charts, right? You can track them. You can go look at the prices on, like on CoinMarketCap. Different cryptocurrency price websites have them listed. All right, here's one example, and especially like it's really kind of gone downhill over the past couple days. So these are IOUs, right? So some of these coins are going to get listed on, certain cryptocurrency exchanges. Some of them are letting you trade them now, basically IOUs for the coins that haven't been issued yet because the forks haven't actually happened. And the price trajectory is looking even worse than even most of the DeFi airdrops that have happened. I think a lot of that's got to do with the credibility of the projects and how they're actually going to execute, this forks. So, they're some of these things are shooting themselves in the foot because, I've been saying for months now on this channel that, any successful Ethereum proof of work fork has a ton of headwind because, what gives Ethereum value is not just the actual software itself. While that is a big part of the value proposition, it's the software alone is not what gives Ethereum its value proposition, okay? The value proposition is the network effect, the actual network itself, all the people running the nodes to make it decentralized, and also all the applications and things you can do with it on top of the actual network, okay? So, like, I could go download Ethereum right now, run it on my computer. I could convince you to do it. I could convince everybody watching this video right now to do it. And that still really wouldn't be, it depends on how many people watch this video. But it wouldn't be as good as what Ethereum is now, right? Like, you wouldn't be as decentralized and secure as Ethereum now. Let's say we even did that, right? Let's say we blew up this video on YouTube. It got to, 1 million views, and everybody watching the video decided to run my copy of Ethereum, okay? Well, the problem is it's still just the exact copy of what was running on Ethereum before. Well, you have one or two options. You can start from zero. You can start with a blank slate blockchain, block number 0, and start mining new blocks, or you can get an exact copy. So the exact copy is not going to be worth it. Well, this thing that goes from 0 is not going to be worth anything because there's no apps on top of it that people can actually use. All you could do is like send ETH around. Of course, you could bootstrap a new ecosystem where you could deploy new smart contracts on there. But that's a huge hump to get over. Why would people go use that versus what else is out there? I get the whole idea of like new liquidity mining incentives, but that's probably going to suffer the fate of most other alternative layer 1s that come out. Or new ecosystems. Essentially, people just come in like vultures to chase the gains, and whenever the game of musical chairs stops, like they just flee the scene. Okay, that's probably what's going to happen for any fork that I come up with that was a blank slate. So the other option is essentially forking everything with all the apps and users on top of it. The problem is, you go back to that problem I said before. Like if you've got USDC on this new Ethereum fork, right? That's a stable coin, or you got Uniswap or something else maybe that relies upon oracles. Like they're not all just going to work properly. And even if the ERC20 tokens that were stable coins did work, the stable coin issuer is not going to honor those because they didn't issue those on that chain in the first place. So that's an initial headwind for an Ethereum fork. That's hard enough as it is, and looks like we had some attempts to, mitigate some of those problems that sort of the cure ended up being worse than the problem itself. Okay, it ended up basically kind of shooting themselves in the foot. People have been reacting to this negatively, and of course that's working itself out in the marketplace. So, some takes on this. The Ethereum merge is coming up really soon. We're less than a month away. We've seen lots of FUD around the Ethereum merge, some fear, uncertainty, and doubt, especially with the sanctions that have happened on top of, Tornado Cash, the OFAC sanctions, basically. We had Tornado Cash, which is a privacy solution for Ethereum smart contract deployed on the network that essentially lets you obfuscate transactions or make it really hard to make it hard to link addresses together. The whole idea is if you have a wallet with Ether in it, or maybe some other like coin like USDC, you can deposit in Tornado Cash, and there's all these other people depositing, and then you essentially get this valet claim ticket where you can withdraw your funds on the other side. Okay, and it's really hard to link the two addresses together. It's not impossible. There are blockchain analytics firms out there who have claims to have sort of cracked the code on this one, but for most people, it's going to be hard to link the two together. Okay, so. Anyways, we've seen some FUD around this because, of course, these have been sanctioned, and the sanctions are unclear about how, who is, what you can and can't do with this. Now clearly, especially in America, like you're not supposed to use it. Like, you can't just go make deposits and withdrawals. Like that's clear violation of the sanctions. But, the other real question mark is like, can you run a validator that validates transactions, for people who are using Tornado Cash, right? So like post Ethereum merge, which is coming up next month, if you ran a validator and you staked your ETH and then you validated a transaction where someone was making a withdrawal from Tornado Cash, a sanctioned application, like are you in violation of that sanction itself? So that's a real question mark. We don't really know for sure. And that's been some of the FUD around Ethereum right now is that like, hey, after the merge, like we're going to have all these big entities that are providing staking services for other people, right? Like Coinbase, for example, and they're going to have incentives to like comply with sanctions and then essentially like censor transactions. So like the whole idea is they want to keep their staking business alive. So they would censor transactions in order to do that, and then that would compromise the value proposition of Ethereum completely. Now, I brought that up a couple days ago on my live stream because it's a hotly debated topic right now. We saw this post come out here. Let me just... we got somebody spamming the chat here. Let me just mute this person. Hold on. I think our person who normally helps me moderate the chat community member is not here today. Sorry, everybody. I have muted the spammer. I just thought the live chat was really popping today, but it was just spam. Oh well. Okay. Anyway, so back to the programming here. So I brought this up in my live stream a couple days ago. This post put out, question for Lido Finance, Coinbase, Kraken, Staked US. Basically, a lot of these people who are offering staking services for Ethereum post-merge. If regulators ask you to censor the Ethereum protocol level with your validators, will you, comply with the censor protocol level, or shut down the staking service and preserve network integrity? It's a hard question to ask publicly for them to answer. Okay, so Brian Armstrong from Coinbase actually chimed in. All right, and he said yesterday, I saw this. He said, it's a hypothetical we hopefully won't have to face, so let's just hope that's right. But if we did, we'd go with B, I think. Got to focus on the bigger picture. There may be some better option C or legal challenge as well that could help reach a better outcome. Okay. So as a bold answer to just publicly put out there on Twitter, because a lot of people who screenshot this, save it, just waiting for revenge to whip this back out if something changes, long term. Now I know there's a lot of people who are going to say, hey, this is just a promise made on social media, like you can't expect them to actually do that. But I'm going to take it at face value, and until proven otherwise, right? Coinbase does have a vested interest in, keeping the value proposition of crypto alive. I saw a thing floating around there talking about, the staking business for Coinbase, like doing the rough math of bringing in like close to like $750 million for them in revenue. Okay, I don't even know if that's true or not. If the article is just kind of making that number up, or if it's even close to true, that's a lot of money. But here's the thing, like, staking revenue is not the only way that Coinbase could potentially make money, right? Like when bull markets come back, frothy bull markets, Coinbase can make a lot more than $750 million. Okay, and crypto continuing to be a thing, and ETH being a clear leader. And the value proposition for crypto, they want to keep that alive so that, we can continue to grow the pie. Of course, there's going to be all these copycats that don't hold the same, values as Ethereum. But in order for the space to really continue to grow, we need that essential cornerstone, in my opinion, to stay strong. And it's in Coinbase's interest to keep that alive as well. Okay, so that's what my thought on this. And also, Brian Armstrong is a sharp dude. Okay, you're talking about somebody who pioneered in the crypto space. Okay, you don't think like we're all sitting here just speculating about what we're reading off of social media. I'm sure he has a lot more information available to him than we do. A lot of ties to talk with people who have regulatory clarity on some of these issues where most of us don't. And there in fact could be a better option C that could come out from this. So we'll have to just sort of wait and see. But, in the short term, I'm going to optimistically take this at face value, saying let's hope that it is just a hypothetical, and hope that there is a better option C. But ultimately that they would go with option B, at a sort of gun to the head decision. So, so that's more on that particular issue. Let's talk about a couple other things that are popping up here. It's particularly around the Ethereum merge. So another thing is that we are seeing the CME futures, okay, for ETH coming out on September 12th, which is right before the merge. Okay, so CME to launch, Ether options, not futures. We already have ETH futures. CME to launch Ether options on September 12th. So this is another big thing. Some people are saying, hey, this is actually bearish because you might be seeing all these people buying options, betting on the price of ETH going down post-merge, okay? So anyways, it's definitely a new product. If anything, the bigger picture to me is that it signifies greater demand to treat ETH like a financial vehicle. among more traditional folks here. So more on the Ethereum merge and sort of the fork conversation about what could be potentially viable. I saw this thread I want to pull up. So this echoes some of my thoughts, but also adds more to the conversation. So some Spencer Noon here. So the ETH merge is imminent. People are questioning how big of a role the industry giants play in the outcome. So, like before, we're talking about the ETH forks, where the the people who are spinning up the blockchains are sort of deciding who lives and who dies based on who's in certain liquidity pools. The real question is, whether these forks happen, or just whenever the merge happens and you have proof of stake turned on, okay, are basically the big players in the space, like the stablecoin issuers and the people who are potentially running validators like Coinbase, okay, or Lido Finance, are they going to be sort of the kingmakers? Are they going to be sort of the big dogs who have, too much influence in the space? So Circle, the most powerful governance actor on Ethereum, right? The biggest stablecoin issuer. Can Coinbase dictate which fork wins? Right. The answer might surprise you. So to answer the questions, the first fact to understand is that the market is telling us that it doesn't think the proof of work fork is credible at all. So that's kind of what I was talking about before. Basically, the market price of ETH PoW is 3% of ETH. And only $4 million of trading volume in 24 hours. Okay. The market's telling us is important when it comes to the role of industry giants in the merge. What the market is telling us is so important when it comes to the industry, when it comes to the role of industry giants in the merge. Anyways, take USDC, for example. So that's what I was talking about before. As a 100% fiat-backed stablecoin, which means, supposedly 100% backed by fiat currencies, like dollars, for example, won't Circle have to choose a single fork to prevent double spends, giving it outsized governance power? That's what I'm talking about before. They're not going to just honor, 2 USDCs because that's a double spend issue. So this narrative is reductive and misleading. So it's kind of challenging what I was saying before. Circle doesn't mint stablecoins out of thin air. It has customers, okay? These customers are a diverse set of market participants who are responsible for $53 billion market cap of USDC. Okay, and what do those customers, for example, market participants, think of ETH proof of work? So checks, price, and volumes, like we saw a minute ago, they don't think it's credible at all. So I can assure you, if the market did, they find a way to support their customers. So that's kind of challenging what I was saying before. Essentially, if the market was indicating that the proof of work fork essentially had demand, that's the whole idea, is does the coin have demand or is it absolutely tanking in value? And they could potentially find a way to serve those customers. Now, the devil's in the details on that one. I'd like to see what that way actually is. So anyways, let's take a look at a counterfactual. What happened if both forks were credible? To answer this, let's walk down memory lane. So back in July 17, the contentious Bitcoin hard fork coming in place, Coinbase announced they wouldn't support Bitcoin Cash. Okay, they're killing it, said Twitter. Anyways, and this was update for Coinbase with Bitcoins stored on Twitter, on Coinbase, Bitcoins stored on Twitter. This is what I was talking about before, basically. Like if you had coins on exchange, it's not necessarily going to credit over to a new fork. So you can see this post from 2017 from Coinbase. In the event of two separate blockchains after August 1st, 2017, we will only support one version. We have no plans to support the Bitcoin Cash fork. We have made this decision because it's hard to predict how long the alternative version of Bitcoin will survive and if Bitcoin Cash will have future market value. So guess what? Turns out they, in fact, didn't have this power. Okay, Bitcoin Cash was legit. It had a credible community and high-profile supporters, including the likes of these folks. Okay, the result: Coinbase eventually reversed its course and listed Bitcoin Cash. So the market will ultimately decide. So back to 2022 in the merge. If both the proof of work fork was credible and widespread, companies like Circle would figure out how a way to support both forks. How would they prevent double spends? You know, this is crypto Twitter, and also me kind of saying this. So there's literally a global pause button on the USDC contract. One rule of hard forks is not is to not transact on them until the dust settles, okay? But in the extremely unlikely occurrence it never did, Circle could easily devise a program to prevent double spends, okay? So example, send USDC to the smart contract to burn USDC on proof of stake and mint on proof of work. Simple. So that could be a way, is essentially if you want your USDC without having double spends, then you could unlock yours on the other side by essentially sending to one side and then, burning on the other. So the point he's making here is that if there's enough demand for a fork, okay, that, we could find some ways to essentially support some of the apps on top of this ecosystem. Now, that being said, you have to have demand for that to happen. And right now, it doesn't look like that demand is actually there. Okay. And, on top of the reasons that I've listed several times on this channel, especially in the live streams, we've also seen, folks like Vitalik himself coming out, Vitalik Buterin, the mastermind behind Ethereum, saying that he doesn't think that the proof of work fork has long-term viability either. Now you might say, oh, it's just bias, but he's a pretty straightforward guy, especially in his communication. Okay. He's also highly intelligent. Okay. And I don't think he's just going to he's not just going to come out and say, I don't think it's going to work, just to, hype up the Ethereum merge or something like that. I think he sincerely thinks it's not going to work long-term. And I think he's probably right. So let's see here. Let's see here. So somebody's pointing back to Michael's question. Tech Lead says the merge will create two separate blockchains for Ethereum. Do I agree with that statement? That's exactly what I was talking about here. So basically, it's probably will create two blockchains. We're probably going to have this Ethereum proof of work version. I just don't think it's going to be viable for all the reasons I talked about in this video. And you see pretty good evidence of that, here. What is a Lightning Network? The Lightning Network is basically a layer 2 for Bitcoin. Pranjal says, after Tornado Cash aftermath, developers will be more anonymous and code will be more open source. Yeah, we've already seen a more We've already seen sort of a push towards that. I can see the Toronto Cash type of situation accelerating that. With the merge of ETH, will we get another L2 blockchain? That's a good question. So I'm trying to understand your question. Like whenever the merge happens, like if we, how I'm reading your question is essentially when the merge happens, if we have a fork that stays behind, like a proof of work version versus like Ethereum proof of stake version, that's two new blockchains. All right, or well, not two new, but two blockchains after there's just one. And then if that fork happens on the sort of new blockchain, or I guess I'm going to consider the proof of work version the new blockchain because that's not really the community supported one. Will you get like brand new L2s out of that? Not necessarily, right? That's not just gonna fork over. Because I mean, also at that point, like if you got a proof of work fork where the coin is significantly cheaper, the demand for L2 is going to be less. Of course, everybody wants fast transactions, but people also really want cheap transactions. And if your coin's a tenth of the price, like it's not as big of an issue. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel. That really helps the videos out so that more people learn about blockchain. And if you're as fast and have the technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you go to my YouTube homepage. You can find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you'll take a master shortcut entirely, actually a master blockchain step-by-step start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You get to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks.